okay? And our government is very, very broken, and we're not asking for our money back. If we spend $200 billion to bring democracy to Iraq, and they don't have a democracy, do we get our money back? No, we don't.
No, we don't. Let me ask you this. You say spread democracy, and the assumption there is that spreading democracy is the only correct thing, and democracy is the ideal.
Uh-huh.
To a large degree, this broken system that you're describing, it is democracy, is it not?
Well, in a sense. In America, when we say democracy, what we mean is that we have a constitutional republic. Okay, we're supposed to have a set of documents that say, that basically give the ground rules for what the government can and cannot do and what kind of laws we can and cannot make. For instance, if someone was to make a law that said African Americans cannot go outside after dark, which was an actual Jim Crow law that actually was passed in various parts of the United States and was law and was enforced by the police. However, the Constitution is supposed to prevent those kind of laws from being passed under what's called equal protection. Okay, and that and other various safeguards are supposed to be in place so that the government doesn't become overwhelmingly powerful and ridiculous laws are not made by voters on a rampage or during a national crisis when we're in a panic. We're going to pass something that is going to do a series of laws that will destroy the nature of our culture and our civilization and our democracy. Because even in the Soviet Union, they had a constitution that was similar to our own. However, it wasn't being used by people that were determined to be free at the time. Although that situation is changing, I think now the people that live in Russia are much more determined to be free than they ever were before, and I think they will succeed. And I think that this is probably the process that we should hope for that will happen in the Middle East as well. That as information through the internet, through DVDs, through television, through satellite television, through books, magazines, periodicals, leak into these other countries, we will see hopefully a much more enlightened group of people living there that are much more determined to be free and hopefully would throw off dictators like Saddam Hussein. And I think by going in there and removing them now artificially before that happens naturally is something that's only caused problems. It's caused a civil war, and we're basically occupying the country trying to keep these people from killing each other, as where before Saddam Hussein was ruling with an iron hand, and that kept people from killing each other. Somehow he understood the culture. Somehow he understood what he needed to do in that country to keep civil war from happening when there was
Mark,
a civil war waiting.
Who asked us, though, to go into Iraq?
No one asked us. No, the people actually didn't vote on this. No one said, speaking of democracy, no one asked us, shall we attack Iraq? Yes or no. It was a decision that was made for us by Congress. In fact, and many things were told to us to make us believe that we should go in there. We were given a new argument constantly. Some people say, well, there's, which reason is it? Other, in question as of weapons of mass destruction. Is it oil? Is it that he's an evil dictator? Is it to bring democracy? Is it for security against terrorists? And people point out that many reasons have been given. Other people point out that that's a ridiculous argument because this is a huge amount of reasons. There's just, so many reasons. Those are all great reasons to go to Iraq. And now not only do we have one reason, we have these 20 or 30, and we seem to have a new one all the time. But if you look at all of these reasons specifically, none of them really pan out. In Iraq, did Iraq attack us? No, Iraq did not attack us. There's been no, any other than some internet conspiracy theories at some extreme right-wing websites, has there been any proof that Saddam Hussein had anything to do with terrorism, that he had anything to do with 9/11? And the government has admitted that. Bringing democracy to Iraq, again, it goes back to the faith in government. I don't think we're going to see a democracy in Iraq. It's not going to happen. There's no history of democracy in that area, and when people want democracy there, they'll fight for it. They'll bring it about. And also culturally, maybe their culture is so different from ours that democracy wouldn't work for them. Perhaps it would. Perhaps there'll be a secular government there when this is all over. But none of these reasons are panning out at all.
Well, of course, it's not. Well, you talked earlier about a constitutional republic. It isn't within our purview to spread democracy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is not part of our constitutional mission. It's not part of our mandate as a country. Why have we deviated so far away from our traditions and our original goals as a country with limited government, where not an isolationist policy, we certainly have free trade, but a policy that's defense-oriented and not offense-oriented?
Well, firstly, I think that we should be. I don't think there's a military strategist out there that thinks we're doing the right thing in fighting terrorists in this way. This isn't making us safer, that we're provoking the terrorists, that their recruitment is up, that our actions have actually helped them to prove their philosophical points. They can go and they can point to certainly not the character of the people that are over there, but they can talk to the incidents that have happened where the American troops, there was an incident of American troops raping a teenage girl in Iraq and murdering the family. There have also been some massacres of some civilian families. And these have probably certainly been aberrations. There's also been, of course, bombing raids that have had lots of civilian casualties. The terrorists can simply point to that and say, look, we were right about these people. They are corrupt. They are wrong. Their culture is wrong. Look what it's doing. And it helps them to recruit more people that hate us. And every time we drop a bomb over there and you do kill somebody, that person is going to have 3 brothers and 3 sisters, and they have wives, and they have 3 brothers and 3 sisters, and one of those people is going to become radicalized enough to want to do harm to the general culture, which again goes back to this war being very much against the grain of libertarian thought. They are thinking that we are a group of people, and they hurt one of us, they hurt all of us. And we are thinking, falling into the same trap, that they are a group of people rather than a group of criminals living in a culture, okay, in the various cultures of the Middle East, and that by hurting one of them, we're hurting all of them, or that by attacking or taking over their country, we're teaching them a lesson. And it's one of the most dangerous elements of groupthink, and groupthink is the opposite of libertarianism. And in that sense, war is the opposite of libertarianism, which it would be different, of course, if the country was being attacked, okay, then I would be all for it. If there was an army, if Mexico was rolling their tanks across the borders, I would definitely say, you know, attack us. If Iraq had, you know, an air force and they were flying all the way over here or landing in Mexico and launching airstrikes against the United States, I would definitely say we have to defend ourselves. And again, the tactic of the individual probably would work very well as well, especially if someone was trying to, you know, take over the country. People working in cells and as individuals are as basically as guerrilla warfare fighters against the enemy are some of the most difficult to conquer. In fact, that's why we were unconquerable by England during the Revolutionary War, and also why the Khmer Rouge were unconquerable by us during the Vietnam War.
Well, without unraveling the whole chain of events that led to why these guerrillas have attacked us, you could fairly say that being at war is creating more terrorists, is it not?
I think it is. You know, there's the claim that we're fighting the terrorists over there, so we don't have to fight them over here. And I don't think that's right, because it's not as if there's some kind of a limited supply of these people. Okay, it's not as if we're not creating more terrorists by going over there and doing these things, because in a war there's always collateral damage. You're never going to just kill the people that are the bad guys, so to speak. There's always civilian casualties, and